All right, so this module is called Hacking Your Text, using Google to embed AVID strategies into the text. So the goal here really is to design a handout or a text that we would give to our students that integrates AVID strategies or prompts to utilize AVID strategies directly into the text. Essentially, reminders for our students that they need to continue to mark or write in the margins or whatever it may be. So ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to use some of the formatting elements of Google in order to make, I guess, a more user-friendly text for students. Before we really get into the creation of the Google Doc, however, I want to review 4 of the strategies that we're going to work to incorporate into one of our Google documents. And those 4 strategies include reading and rereading, marking the text, writing in the margins, and summarizing the text. Now, I understand that some of you may have attended Summer Institute in the past and maybe focused on critical reading, or maybe you've even been utilizing some of these strategies already in your classroom, so you're quite familiar with them. If that's the case, I really advise you don't need to listen to the rest of this video. You actually can jump down. You'll see that we've summarized the 4 strategies directly below this video. Alternatively, we also have a quiz at the very bottom. So if you're really kind of adept at these strategies, just jump right down to the quiz and take it. Now, regardless of what you choose to do, watch the video, read the summaries, or jump directly to the quiz, everybody needs to take the quiz, because what that will do is unlock the next folder in this module. And in that folder, we actually talk about building the Google document. So let's move into the review right now. And as I told you, if you're comfortable with this, just go ahead and pause it and move on to the next phase. So reviewing the strategies, the first one we want to look at is reading and rereading. And now this is a pretty intuitive thing for many of us, but for our students, it's a pretty arduous task to get them to read once, let alone read twice. So what AVID's best reading strategies really dictate is that students should read once through and kind of what we might call a clean pass through. So they would read to themselves, or the teacher would read the text aloud with no marking or no note taking while they read. This is to just get acquainted with the basic idea of what the text is actually about. The problem with this first pass through, though, is students also often miss what maybe the underlying claim might be, or what some of the evidence the writer might be using, or more importantly, they might not pick up on some of the deeper level inferences the author is trying to get them to make. So that's where the second reading or the rereading phase comes in. It's an opportunity for students to dig a little bit deeper into the text. Now, in order to make the second reading a little bit more authentic, this is where we might introduce marking, writing in the margins, or summarizing. It gives them a direct and concrete purpose for rereading the text. It's an activity that they can engage in while they do the second pass through. The next strategy is actually marking the text. So again, this is something that they would do during the second reading or the rereading portion. So marking the text asks students to actively engage while they're reading. So essentially we're asking them to do 3 separate things. And these 3 separate things get them to kind of identify essential information in the text. They include numbering the paragraphs, circling key terms, and underlying information that is relevant to the reading purpose. So when we ask kids to number the paragraphs, it serves a couple of different purposes. And it's not just for the students, it's actually for students and teachers alike. So it allows us to engage in more meaningful discussioning if we can refer back to anchor points in the text, direct paragraph numbers, so we can engage in questioning, discussions, and also writing in response to the into the text. The next is circling key terms, and really what terms we have students circle depends on the content that you're teaching. So students are going to circle all sorts of different types of terms, and really it's up to you as the teacher to provide guidance as to which terms should be circled. So whether you're teaching math or science, English, social studies, you can see that we might have them focus in on different sets of terms. So whether that be properties and variables, or units of measurements in science, or maybe percentages or formulas in math. And then of course in fiction and nonfiction, we'd be looking at things like names of characters or places, unfamiliar terms, and then very specifically in nonfiction, maybe keying in on evidence or new vocab or central concepts or ideas. Underlining is maybe a little bit more complicated, and it relates to the purpose that we establish for our students to have while they read. So purpose is where we very, very concretely let them know why we're reading. Now, it's not simply a purpose to like become a better reader. It's what they're supposed to get out of the text. Now, if we establish a clear and meaningful purpose for our students, there's actually going to be additional details or facts or ideas that emerge from the text that the students may not otherwise pick up on. So purpose is fundamental to our students' understanding of the text that we present before them. And that purpose should be established before they read. Now, depending on what we establish as our purpose, we might find that our students are underlying things like central claims or evidence, facts, methods. It all really depends, again, on the content area and then how you outline or determine what that purpose might be. The next strategy that we're going to look at is writing in the margins. Now, writing in the margins is something that many people just do naturally. Maybe jot down notes or whatever it might be. And what we actually ask our students to jot in the margins deals with things like visualizing, summarizing, clarifying, responding, making connections, and asking questions. Again, many of us as proficient readers have developed strategies where we do this naturally. One comparison I like to make for our students is we actually make a lot of these, or we do a lot of these kind of active reading strategies while we watch movies or watch televisions. Of course, the visualization's done for us, but it's not uncommon to summarize the plot of a movie or ask for clarification or make connections, connecting what we're seeing in a movie to maybe a television show that we've seen in the past or something that's happened in real life, and of course asking questions. Now, the problem is in reading, it's a little bit higher order concept or skill, and we see that students often don't naturally resort to some of these active engagement in whatever that text is before them. So we need to coach our students to do so, and we can do that by giving them strategies to write in the margins. Finally, summarizing the text, and I think we've often assigned large text and then ask students to summarize the entire text, and this can actually be a formidable task for students to summarize a really large, maybe two-page or three-page article. One thing we might actually think about doing is identifying certain passages, whether that be a paragraph or 2 paragraphs long, and ask them to summarize the individual paragraph or the small passage that we've selected. Now, what summarizing asks students to do is to clarify information, demonstrate general understanding, and identify essential information, and then produce all this in their writing. So we have a few strategies to do this, and we'll kind of get into what these might look like in the Google, creating our Google document. But we might consider putting specific parameters on the length of the summary, and we don't mean like a paragraph, we mean even shorter, like 20 words or 140 characters, the Twitter-style summary. It makes students really think very precisely about what maybe the claim of the text is or what the underlying essence of that passage might be. And then they have to be thoughtful about their word choice and their sentence structure. So parameters actually can be, it heightens the challenge of it, but it also helps focus what they're really trying to zero in on in their summary. Okay, so that concludes our primary review of some of these strategies. So now that you've reached the end of this little presentation, why don't you jump down to the quiz right at the bottom of the page, answer the couple questions, and that's going to unlock the next portion of this assignment for you.